Okay, we are running this video conversation live on UNLV Biomechanics Facebook page, and we're recording. I'm John Mercer, a professor in kinesiology and nutrition sciences at University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and doing some video podcasts, talking with people out in the industry, in the fitness industry, related to endurance performance, because of the classes Physiology of Endurance Performance and Biomechanics of Endurance Performance. Right now I'm doing Physiology of Endurance Performance, and I'll post this video for the students to watch. And I always like tapping into a local expert in the endurance community, Jackie Arcana. Hey, Jackie, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good.
That was good to catch up before we hit the record button on this.
Absolutely.
But now, Jackie, I'll give you an introduction here, and then I want to go through some of what you're doing there at Lake Las Vegas, and then also talk about your triathlon expertise and background. So I've known Jackie, I don't even know, I should have asked you when we first met, but it's been years at this point. And obviously we met at a triathlon, and then just started to, get train with the same groups of people and go to races. And, we've worked together on several different fronts, I guess, if you will.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Now you are the fitness director at Lake Las Vegas Sports Club, which
That's
is really a neat club. And you've been there now for, is it 3 or 4 years?
Almost 4 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
yeah.
It's quite a position. I mean, you're basically running a club for a wide variety of members. And I want to hear a little bit more about what your assigned duties are and what really happens.
Well, first of all, I'm meeting you guys from the UNLV satellite lab here at the sports club. So that's a really, really cool situation that we were able to, Dr. Mercer and I were able to make happen here, which helps us with outreach and keep UNLV on members' minds, and we have that. It really helps us on kind of selling the property to members, and also it helps me because I have some interns come through the program. They've been fabulous, and graduate assistants, and we've done research out here. So anyway, that's just a small part of what I do. I am director of fitness. And we've got about, even with COVID, we're still about 60 classes a week. We have live classes, we have virtual classes, we have outdoor classes. We now have 2 gyms. We used to have 1, now we have 2 because of COVID. I now have 3 studios that we do. We have a functional training room, we've got a spin room, we've got Pilates reformers, we've got yoga, bar, you name it. Lots of really great trainers. A lot of them I've kind of plucked out of the endurance world and out of different places from the community. So I've been really lucky that way. So I do the fitness. That includes hiring, training, etc., scheduling, and I also do a lot of operations. So we have 2 pools to run, a hot tub. There's lots of logistics as far as maintaining the equipment is concerned. I just, if equipment goes in and out, and, I've learned a lot about that. So, and then there's the regular member, there's a lot of member relationships that have to be done, community, things that I do as far as marketing. I also do a lot of the communications and marketing here for the sports club. I write a weekly newsletter. I'm getting ready to put together a whole fitness thing for all of Lake Las Vegas. So I occasionally do some projects for all Lake Las Vegas, but there is no normal day.
Yeah, well, and that's one of my questions was going to be is, what does a normal day look like?
Well, like this tomorrow, for example, I'm going to go in and I'm going to teach a spin class because I've done that for many years, and it's just kind of like my little playground. And I love the bike and I love cycling, and I still love it. And I have mostly cyclists that are coming to that class as opposed to like a typical group fitness kind of thing. And then the next class I'm going to teach, and I don't teach a lot of classes, but I do a couple days a week, is one that was derived from one of the students that came from UNLV. He came out and he did a hip strength test on all our members, and they all failed. He's now, I think, in his last year of physical PT school, at Taven.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, let's, you know, nobody wants to just like go into the gym and go, let me work on my hip strength. You know, people just don't think that way. So we've tried to make a fun way. So we have a class called Hipsters, and I've kind of taken that on, and just because it's just working, you know, it's just working that hip strength that makes it so important for lateral sports, which we have a lot of pickleball players and a lot of different things like that. And I just tell them, hey, this is a way you can, you know, this helps you to be stronger with whether you take dance or whether you take yoga or whether you're a runner or whatever it might be. So I do that, then I'll get done, try to take a shower. I have a Zoom meeting. Then I have a marketing situation. Then we have a little staff issue that we have to take care of from a problem that we had yesterday. So we have a, you know, kind of a thing about that, and then I'll work on the newsletter and do some admin. So anyway,
that is a day. Now
it's a day.
What I love about your position out there is, one, it's a beautiful property. I mean, it's really very picturesque out there, and, you know, overlooks the city, and, you know, a high quality, you know, club, and so that part is neat. But I know you, and you've always been this way, is you build this community. And even with a sports club that people just, you know, they pay their membership, they can just come in and do their workout and leave, but that's not the way that
that's not what I want. Yeah.
I mean, I see, you know, the Facebook post on the get-togethers, the what was it, the drive-through?
Yeah, we're trying to continue to have some community safe social distancing. We're calling it safe socializing. So we have this beautiful roundabout that you've seen. So for you guys who haven't, it's just cobblestones, and there's all these beautiful plants, and it really is picturesque. I have not gotten tired of the view yet whatsoever, but we just set up a bunch of stations around so people could drive through in their cars with their masks on if they so desire, or not, or be with whoever, you know, whatever they feel comfortable with. And we would give them, you know, we had donut day, so we gave them a juice and a bake, you know, or juice and a donut. And, you know, we've had other things where we give them pizza, or, you know, some drinks, some sparkling ciders or what have you, and let people kind of just go through. We got the DJ going. We had Laura Love, a local triathlete too. She works out here, and she was like dancing the whole entire time, you know. And it's just like a fun thing, and people came like dressed up. They're in their car like all dressed up because it's something to do. So
that's all.
Yeah, because we can't do the things we used to do, so we have to be creative.
Yeah, but you know, and I've seen you. You know, you did this when you had your coaching company, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But you build this community. Now, I don't know. Talk about why you think it's so important to have that community in fitness. What's the link there that you've established?
Yeah. To me, fitness, I mean, I've been in it for a long time, but it's not just sets and reps. It's not just miles on the bike. It's not laps in the pool. You know, you really need the whole package, which there's a lot of different components for wellness anyway. And honestly, having somebody else, you know, wonder where, you know, what are you doing and where have you been, and you weren't in class, that goes a long way. You know, if you're not there for a little bit, somebody might come over with a casserole because you're not feeling well. Those connections are really important for your mental health. And I really feel like your mental health and your physical health are very strongly correlated. So for me, it's always been a really important facet. I think that together we're stronger than we are individually. So I try to, whether I'm here or I was in my coaching business, I try to foster community, because I just think it's what makes people, you know, for me with triathlon, it was like the competition and all that was great, you know, it was great. But, you know, you go through like ebbs and flows with that. But what kept me coming back was the community. So that's what I always want to build on, is that, you know, these are your people. This is your tribe.
That's right.
And it makes you feel like you belong. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
No, that's true. And you do such a great job with that. And that's what's neat to see what you've developed out there at Lake Las Vegas. And, and I know we really connected with Lake Las Vegas early on at about the same time, and
Hmm.
you've taken that and really have developed that community. So maybe talk about, maybe even go back in time, maybe talk a little bit about how did you get involved with the fitness industry to begin with?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not what I thought I was going to be doing 20 years ago, probably. No regrets, but for those of you who don't know, I was, my degrees in accounting. Um, I started off in a general ledger department in the casino business in Atlantic City, and I rose up through the ranks there. I was managing casino revenue, and I did internal audit, and I did a lot of really cool things. But I paid my own way through school, and when I was an auditor, I was able to go to every department, and I realized that the catering department made a lot more money than others. So I was like, well, I need to do that. And I walk in, and they're like, "You're like an accounting geek. What are you
Mm,
doing?" And you know, this is not but I just really felt like I could make that work, and so I switched over into catering sales, and I had no sales or marketing experience, so I had to learn all of that like from scratch, and that was great. I mean, I'm really glad because I have an accounting background, sales and marketing, and so I rose up to director of sales. Long story short, moved to Vegas, um, find myself like suddenly divorced. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I had quit my job, and I had two little kids, and I just didn't want to go back in the casino business, but so I thought, oh gosh, I don't want to be that person. Like, I like fitness, so I'll be into that. I just didn't think that. So, but I would work out at back in the day at club sport, and a trainer there was like, I
mm,
think you would be a really amazing personal trainer. I'm like, what? Me? No, like I know how to train like other people like me. And he goes, well, you have to learn.
yeah,
So okay, I have to learn. So now I have to learn A&P. I have to learn exercise physiology. I have to learn all this stuff so that I can take the exam. So I got into that, and then right at kind of at the same time as I started trying to get into personal training, I started competing in triathlons, and I was like, I want to be a coach. So back then there was only one coach in Nevada, and he was in Reno, and he was a doctor.
mm,
So there were no other coaches on, let alone women, so I did that, and of course it grew and changed a lot in the years that I did that. But I kind of came into it not thinking that was my first thing that I wanted to do, and I thought I'll just do this kind of part-time till my kids get older. But I honestly could have grown the business sooner, but I wanted to have the flexibility, which is what the field gave me, was flexibility to work around my own schedule, and to be, if a client didn't understand that I had to take the kids to the doctor, then
hmm
maybe you're not the right client for me. And that wasn't easy because it was, being self-employed is no joke. I went on my own pretty much right away and turned my garage into a studio, and if you will call it that. So I used to just, people would say, I just train with that chick in the garage, and but I made it work till it got too big. And then I had to rent space at other places so that I could reach everybody. And then we started doing events outside, and just kept snowballing and getting bigger, and it's all good.
No, and you grew it really well. It wasn't,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
the other, one of the big characteristics of your group, Excel, was that it was a community.
Right.
And everyone knew each other that was
Yep.
working with you, and really there was a lot of support from each other, when they're doing their training and when they're doing their racing. So you've done this building of community quite a bit.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. And you have that in the tri club, and you have that in different places that still, but it's like there were people that met, from taking my bike class or coming to one of my events that are lifelong friends, and they've
Mhm.
gone and traveled together and raced together, so that I was just like a place where they could kind of meet like-minded people. So that's always been really important to me, because again, those are the things that at the end of the day, that's what kind of matters, is the relationships.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's a lot of work. I think that's
Yeah, it
the
is
other thing that,
it's a lot of work. I can't underestimate that, or yeah, it's a
But
lot.
that's interesting with your accounting background.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's something that in our undergrad degree, we don't really cross over into the business world enough. And
Yeah, I think that
a lot of
I've
this,
seen a lot of students struggle on that side. What, you know, even if they take it further, even if they become, you know, whatever it might be, that they kind of underestimate how important that is, because it doesn't matter how smart you are or how many degrees you got if you can't sell it to somebody else or make it work in a business environment often, unless you stay in academics, which is an awesome option. But if you go into the business world, it's different. You know,
Mhm.
it's definitely different. It's definitely helpful to understand where they're coming from. I mean, here, when I came here to Lake Las Vegas, the people that I work for have no idea of what the fitness world is.
Mhm.
They trust me, thank goodness, to do it, but I often have to explain, you know, why or how it's, you know, and try to work within their parameters. And mind you, I wouldn't go, I wasn't interested in going to a place that was 100%, we just have to make a profit. I mean, obviously we can't lose money here, but it's not like, you know, sell as many heart rate monitors to people that don't need them as possible or anything like that. So my values were in alignment with what they wanted. But, you know, it's important to understand that when you're looking at like employment moving forward and that kind of thing, like, you know, I mean, listen, girls and boys need to eat, but at some point, you know, you spend so much time at work. It's good to have, I've been really lucky. My work is my passion.
Mhm.
Um, but, you know, that's a lot of that's by making choices of being aligned with where I feel like I can excel.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I like how you're, you know, giving this to everyone because, you know, it's interesting coming from the business side, you had to work harder at the fitness information,
I, yes.
but Kenese students probably have the fitness information, but they're going to need to work harder to get the business side.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
but you've done it. I mean, you knew how to start a business. Or did you had to learn that
Yeah.
part probably a little
Well,
bit?
I mean, in school still, even though I had a business degree and an accounting specialty, it doesn't really teach, you still don't really know how to do it. I just understood I didn't want to borrow money. I
Yeah.
understood that, and that was really important. I had a couple of good mentors as far as that's concerned. Actually, my professor from I mean, I wasn't planning on majoring in accounting. It just seemed so hard, but I
Mhm.
had amazing professor that just pushed me. And that's kind of what gave me the confidence in the
Yeah.
fitness is like, if I could do that, I can probably apply to this other really hard topic
Yeah.
of physiology and all this.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if, you know, so that was like an important thing too. But I think that it's good to know and understand whatever it is you need to figure out. There's so many options now. I mean, I don't want to date myself too much, but I used to go to the library, like, and take out books
Right.
on stuff, you know.
Yeah. Get the book
What?
off the shelf. Yeah. Right.
But you know, you can learn things, but you still have to be careful, like, and be able to realize who's trying to con you and just
Yeah.
get your money and say they're going to
Yeah.
teach you and they're not, or are you in a really going to do another academic program in here, or how are you going to go about it, and
Mhm.
take the meat and spit out the bones.
No, that's
But
great.
you know,
So now,
lifetime learning is where it's at.
yeah, so that's where I was going to go. So now that you've reached this level of knowledge, both in the business world and the fitness world, how do you stay current? Because you
Yeah.
need information for both the, you know, how to stay current in fitness, but also how to stay current in management techniques, software technique, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. What do you do?
Well, I stay open, so you don't ever want to feel like I learned everything and that's all there is. You know, I learned it back in, you know, 1980 and that's the end of it. I'm not going to learn anything else. Or, yeah, I'm just throwing something out there, because I've met people like that. And you know, even if what you did learn is good, you have to keep your mind open to new things. So I I still like to go to conferences and clinics and all that kind of thing whenever I can,
Hmm.
even if they're online, virtual, what have you, on a multitude of topics. So I try to constantly have something new I'm learning about. I'm an avid reader, so I always have at least 4 or 5 different things that I'm reading at the same time. And right now I had to learn a whole, like we're installing a new fitness app. So I had to learn this whole back end side so that I'll be able to explain it to my instructors and make it really simple. So as you know, as a professor, and you do this so well, you take this complicated topic and how do you make it really simple so anybody can do it.
Right.
And it's, you do it, you take very complicated things and break it down for people, and that's a gift, but I strive for that.
No. But I know the app you're talking about because I heard a little bit about this. So you're working on, so, but that's so cool. I mean, you're stretching yourself in a whole nother direction.
Right. Yeah, always.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
Always.
exciting because you've always had this, growth mindset, if you will,
Right.
that you're always, taking on a new challenge and working towards.
Yeah, I think you have to, or you'll risk, being. I mean, you can't know everything, and I don't ever pretend that I can. If I don't know something, I'm never going to tell a member or, a client or something that I know something I don't. I'm not afraid to tell them that I don't know, but that I'll try to look into it and figure it out. And but that often takes me. But I like to learn. I like to learn new things. But it's there's never enough time to do it all.
Yeah.
I just try to. What seems interesting, I'll just leap on when I can. And some things you learn in the field, or just from talking to people. I talked to this guy this morning, and old man, how's it going? And as it turns out, he used to own like a really big corporation, and he's like, honey, all you need is, he's old, so honey, right?
Right.
You just need LLL, and I'm like, what's that? And he said, listen, learn, and lead.
Ah.
Wow, I love it. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to give Hal Green, the credit for that. So
That's great. Well, that's good because I think you're always open to doing things. But now I want you to think back to your younger self.
Yeah.
If you were going to go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say?
Yeah, I would take A and P way before you're all grown up.
It's the foundation, isn't it? I mean, you got
the foundations. I think if you can have a good instructor, I would say too. One thing I did right though is like I said, I had this professor who was really good. I just ended up like whatever he was teaching, I wanted to take, and that's what, because he was so good. So I kind of chased after that, but it's. I'd say I would definitely want to have learned like with good people, but I've always, I've been lucky. I've had good people around, and if they're not, then you have to find a way. It's a lot harder without support. So I don't think I have any regrets as far as I worked in accounting, I worked in sales, I worked in marketing. I did, but like for writing, I didn't have a background on writing, and I do that a lot now. I do a lot of writing. And like those basic fundamental things, it's never too late to go back and get them. But I wish I would have done more of them earlier.
Yeah, no, that's good. And you only have so many hours in the day. But,
right.
I think
and so many cool, fun things to do every day. Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is just that you're trying to absorb as much information, and you have a passion for learning, and that itself is an important characteristic and quality to have. So that's pretty neat. All right, so let's switch gears.
Okay.
Let's talk more about you, not work-wise now, but your triathlon connection.
Sure.
Because you have such a rich history in triathlon, and very well known locally for being a leader in triathlon. So can you talk about your first entry into triathlon?
Sure. Let's see, my first race, I did a relay, and I think that's a really good way for people to start. You get there and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do the bike, and I'm like so nervous, and I make my friends drive the course like 20 times, and they're like, they don't care. They're like, whatever. They're like, just follow whoever's in front of you. You don't have to worry about this.
Right.
So little do I know, my swimmer was on the B team for the Olympics. She's the first out of the water in front of all the guys.
Oh
There's
no.
nobody on the bike in front of me. I
Oh,
have to go. I'm so grateful I learned the course, you know. And I get done and I hand the baton over to the runner, and you know, so our relay team just killed it, you know, which was really amazing because it was like all women. So it was amazing because we had a really fast time. And I was like, I'm hooked.
yeah.
I'm hooked. So I said, I think I want to race next weekend with you guys. And they're like, well, that's Oceanside.
Well,
You don't know how to swim. Are you sure? Like, anyway, yeah. So
and that's an ocean swim in Oceanside, California.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So it was crazy. People wore, you know, like 2-piece bathing suits on the bike and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I got into it. You know, it was pretty much early days as far as it's not the 80s or anything, but it was like 20 years ago or whatever. So yeah, I got into it. The swim was really my weakest point. I had to learn as an adult,
mhm.
and you know, I was literally like afraid of the water. I was afraid to put my face in the water. So to even do one triathlon, I felt like was an amazing accomplishment for me.
So was Oceanside technically your first triathlon then?
No, I think I did. That one was probably like the second month. The first season I did like 7 races.
Yeah. Okay.
We used to have seasons.
All right.
It's like year round,
Yeah.
but there used to be seasons. So yeah, I got in. I felt pretty hard for it, but I wasn't in a rush. Like nobody back then would go, oh, my first year I'm going to do an Ironman. People just didn't do that. It was like disrespectful to the sport in a way. It was like, you just don't do that. You know, at least the people that I were like kind of mentoring me, it was like, you know, you have to learn how to train before you even learn how to race, before you can even think about doing something like all day. But it doesn't matter. I mean, everybody does things their own way, and there's so much more knowledge now, and the training styles have completely changed. I mean, when I first got into it, you trained like a swimmer, you trained like a cyclist, you trained like a runner, hope for the best that you're not, you know, beat up to a pulp by the time you get to the start line. And I was beat up to a pulp often at the start line. But, you know, then there wasn't, you know, the training wasn't necessarily periodized at first for me, because whatever my buddies were doing, they're going to go and do a tempo ride. I'm doing a tempo ride. The next day we're going to do hills. I'm doing hills. Then we're going to do a long, you know, like I would just, the results were better than they should have been for such randomized training. But also there weren't as many women in it, you know, so you can't necessarily go by results. But I was very fortunate that I had pretty good results. So I'm happy about that. But, you know, I was learning a lot along the way of training techniques, and then like as far as just being a woman too, a lot of the training plans that things that people were following were, because it was mostly men, wasn't necessarily. So I felt like when I'm coaching, I feel like, you know, I can kind of take all this information and see what's going to work best, not just male or female, but just for an individual, because it really is super. I think the best results are going to come from a more customized approach than like a cookie cutter, everybody do the same thing kind of thing, because we all have different strengths and weaknesses. But those are things that I learned along the way, mostly the hard way.
Yeah. Well, but what I'm hearing, and you know, I can see you getting grabbed by the sport so quickly because there's so much information to learn. And again, that's where you are. You're trying to absorb information from lots of different things, and now you're absorbing from the triathlon world.
Yeah.
So talk about maybe talk about maybe a couple of what you think are your biggest accomplishments in triathlon. What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of bringing others into the sport and of my coaching, because it's a lot harder to get somebody else to perform really well than to get yourself, in a way. So I'm proud of, you know, getting people to Kona. I'm proud of getting people to nationals. I'm proud of getting people to their first race. I'm proud of people that got off the couch who were, you know, that had coronary artery disease. I'm proud of those kinds of things for sure. And but I think that I was able to help them because I did, they were able to come into my sphere, I think, because I did have some good results
Hmm.
for some really tough races. And personally, I think probably most proud of the Silverman long course. So I won that overall, like for Nevada women. So I think I was fourth and sixth or something like that overall for the women in '07 and '09. And that was just a really hard race. It was really different than it is nowadays. There's basically, there's only like 100 people doing the whole race, right? So you don't really, you don't see people out there. You have no idea, you can just be like, crying, nobody's there. Like, is there an aid station ahead? I don't know. It was just the course is very difficult. It was, it was hard. I think all the long courses I did, I feel pretty proud of, for sure. And I would say that I'm happy that those things happen so that then other people would think, okay, well, maybe she knows what she's talking about.
Right, right.
And I think it is helpful, not that everybody wants to be competitive. I wanted to be competitive, and and with that, if you do enough races, you're going to have bad races. You're going to have good races, you're going to have bad races, and it doesn't define you. And I was really happy that I was able to get that through, or at least try to help some people understand this is a hobby. This is, you want to still have some balance and keep it in perspective.
Well, I'll tell you, the best athletes don't always make the best coaches, because
Right.
it's a different, you can have a different mentality, but
Absolutely.
I think that's what you bring and brought to the table when you were coaching was you were a high level athlete and you were still relatable, and you could understand that starter, that athlete who's getting into the sport. And again, I attribute that to your, you always want to learn. And so you're just able to, transition both worlds.
Yeah, well, thank you. I feel like I had some luck involved too, because I'm not, I didn't have a swimming background, cycling background, or running background. And
Yeah.
nowadays, like, a lot of people have all that when they get into it. So I had to kind of learn. I mean, I ran, but I rode my bike, but it was different. It was different for
Yeah.
sure. But now it's really different. People are kind of really good at all three. The people at the top are really good at everything.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about, because you've brought a lot of people into the sport.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about what makes someone be able to be successful in triathlon, or what makes them be unsuccessful and maybe even leave the sport.
Yeah, those are really good questions. So I find that the people who had the most success were the probably more realistic with how much they could do, and they were more willing to learn new things, and to kind of like stay with the program and maybe take guidance, who are coachable, I guess. People that like if you hire a coach, you probably should follow what they say. So the people that didn't, the people who didn't have as much success, I found that they would say, okay, you're my coach, whatever. And then they're like, I talked to the guy at the grocery store and he said I should do this other thing too. So I did that. And then I talked to my neighbor's friend who did a triathlon back in the 80s and they said to do this. And they're all over the place, not committing to like one thing, but yet they're saying you're their coach. That would, those people didn't always do as well. And in my opinion, so people that were really hard on themselves too, even if they follow everything you say, that they're the all or nothing. I coached a couple athletes, they did everything right, but there's a little fear involved. And I had a couple people that got to the race and sat in the car and never got out. Like you got to show up with whatever you've got, and it's not going to be perfect. It's on any given day. Any of us can have a good or bad day, and it's the people that are really hard on themselves and like I feel like they're not going to stay in it as long as the people that make it more of a lifestyle. And it's like they have grace. I raced with a guy, and it was like, that was the Oceanside race. I was so excited that I was still alive after it, and I just, I'm all excited, and and finally, after I tell this guy all about it, and I'm like, oh, and how did you do? And he's like, oh, I won. So overall, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. He's like, no, I'm so excited to hear you be excited about it, but
No.
yeah, I think people also tend to overtrain
Yeah.
a lot, and that's detrimental to your outcome, because if you're injured or sick, you're not going to be able to train.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit undertrained is a lot better than, or a lot of, yeah, whatever. A
Yeah.
little bit overtrained is worse than under, for sure.
Yeah. No, and you always were a big advocate of that, is that you're better off going into a race undertrained than even a little overtrained, because
Yeah.
that's your best
And
chance for success, is to be, at least undertrained. So
yeah, and I'm saying this from a place of making that mistake. So
mhm.
I made that mistake. I had injuries, or I had injuries I didn't take care of soon enough and ended up being worse. So I'm not saying it like oh, you shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. I'm saying it because I know I did it, and because I got involved with, I'll take care of it next season. I'll take care of it after this race. I'll get through one more race. And, if something's bothering you, you should get it figured out right away. This is, right now, like whatever you've got, you should be taken care of during COVID, because
Yeah, right.
this is an opportunity. This shouldn't be all bad. This should be a time you can heal at the cellular level and be super fresh and eat right and clean up a lot of things in your diet. And, it's not all negative. Like, look at all the great things you can do to heal your body and improve your flexibility and improve your strength, and, and get a minute of not competing all the time to tie up all that. So.
No, that's right.
Not that it's not, I'm just trying to make lemonade here. Of course we'd rather
right,
race.
right. No,
We'd rather race, right? But
that's always
if
been
you
your
can't,
approach. And, as an athlete, as a coach, and now in your position at Lake Las Vegas, I mean, your approach is just take control of your life and really, enjoy and make fitness part of your lifestyle.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think it's really neat to see, the one constant here is your love for learning and your love of building community across all these different areas. So it's no wonder that you're doing such a fantastic job at Lake Las Vegas.
I think I just, I like people like you that support that and are getting the word out. And I think that it's not just one person, we're teammates in a way of like trying to spread good knowledge and safe training practices and that sort of thing. So.
Yep. No, it takes, it's a team,
Yeah.
And it is important,
absolutely.
To lean on each other and bring in expertise in different areas. So no, it's been good.
Yeah.
So this has been great to chat with you.
Yes, it has.
Get to get people to know you. I'll, obviously have my students take a look at this video, but I'll also share it with the Tri Club. And I guess I should have, I didn't even ask you, do you remember when you started as a member in the Las Vegas Tri Club?
It was, what is her name? The gal was in charge.
Teresa?
What?
Teresa?
Teresa.
Yeah, she's still involved.
Teresa was the president of the Tri Club. Yeah. We used to go out to Blue Diamond and do duathlons. I think I worked harder on those things than I did on some like races that were, like national level. Yeah. We used to do duathlons out there, and, she was a swim coach, and it was, yeah. So I should look and see. We used to have newsletters that came in the mail.
Oh yeah, no, it's all electronic now.
And they would have race results, and like Jean Polo and all these other guys were like, whatever.
That's awesome.
In it, and a lot of them are still racing, and so it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. So yeah, you've been a long time Tri Club member, big time supporter, and so that's been neat. So I'll post this video on there as well. And
oh, awesome. Yeah, I miss my Tri peeps. I got to get back. Right. Gotta get back out there. Big
Hey,
race.
thank you. Very generous with your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for
Great
having me. I
everyone to get to
appreciate
know
it.
you a little bit more.
All right.
All right.
Thanks. All right.
Talk to you
Bye now.
soon.
All right.
All right, let me stop. Hold on one second.
All right.